Hello everybody. This is our January 2025 Patreon numerology group. All of your questions answered, discussing the universal nine of this year 2025 and the one universal month and what all of that indicates for all of us, especially including in the calculation our own personal years that we're going through this year. So let's just close our eyes for a moment and take 3 deep breaths as we breathe into the higher frequencies. Inhale and again and again. And so we're very grateful tonight that all the spirits who understand how much help and guidance humans need here on Earth to remember what's important, to remember our soul missions, to remember that change and reinvention is part of life. And we are knowing that Pythagoras handed us this number system to help us with all of these important things. And tonight we're grateful because the spirits have lined up to hand us this information as we ask it, as we're ready to receive it. And everyone here has something to ask and something to offer. And so we are very grateful for this group tonight. And so it is. All right, everybody, welcome to 2025. Before we officially started, I was talking to Amber, who's here, about her beautiful new project. She's not ready to fully discuss it, but she's making a documentary about three moms whose sons crossed early and all the implications of that and what scientists say about life after death and all sorts of great things. And it's going to be phenomenal. And Amber herself is phenomenal. And her beautiful son, Jagger, is the greatest spirit ever on the other side. So that was our opening conversation tonight. So that fits right in with our theme of what I was going to start with before I open it up for questions from you all was the interesting part as I was meditating on the nine of 2025 universal year. And again, you guys remember that you're adding the 2025 and you're getting the single digit nine. That's why it's a nine universal year of 2025. And again, we're seeing that what started this cycle was in 2017, that was a one universal year. And so we have now completed with this year a 9 year cycle that is very similar to the 9 year cycles all of you have in your lives that you are completing and moving through ever since the moment you were born until you take your last breath. Those cycles are reliable. They are guidance posts for all of us. And we're going to talk more about that today, about your personal year cycles. And this nine universal year for all of us coincides with many shifts in astrology, which I'm not going to try to explain because I'm not that good at astrology. But all of this put together says that this particular universal year is quite an ending, quite a shift, so that by next year we are in a whole different frequency of humanity. I'm going to see it as a good thing. And also the thing that came to me on my meditation was this is a one universal month of January, because when you add these months of this year to the nine universal year, you end up with the same number as the month originally. So most years, for example, last year, when we were in an 8 universal year, you would add that 8 to the number of the month, and you'd get a different number that other than the normal number for that month. So an example would be 8 universal year, add the 7 of July to it, and that gives you the 6 universal month of July under the influence of the 8 universal year of 2024. Now we're in 2025, and every single month in this calendar is the same month number that it usually is because it's been added to the nine. And what that means is that you get a stronger frequency this year of the original vibration of the month. So January number one, and we're feeling all the ramifications of that one, which is the alpha and the omega, the one of January and the nine of the universal year, all vibrating in this month, the beginning and the end, the ultimate knowledge, the ultimate expression. And we launched 2025, with raging fires, with drones that might be ETs, with all of these things that are sort of different and new and unusual, plus things going on in politics and around the world. And if we shift up to the higher frequency of it, we know that the alpha and the omega holds creation in its hands. The alpha and the omega is all that ever is and has been and will be. So when you think about the power of this January month for the universe, it's extraordinary. And even just talking to Amber about her documentary that she's getting going, there's a frequency of starting new things that's more intense than usual this January. And also a frequency of the nine hitting us this January, which says, and it's not anything, I am not feeling the way I have felt before. This is a different vibration, a different frequency. And putting that into words, I wrote down looking at the nine as our graduation to a higher vibration of humanity, looking at the one as giving birth, starting the new and the better, but knowing as we do it that we may be giving birth to something that ends life as we know it, and yet embracing that because we know that the roto-rooter is necessary, the deep cleanse to clean away anything that loves to linger in the darkness, in the fear. So allowing this to happen gives us more light, opens the portal in a greater way. So we do not resist this powerful month of January, the Alpha and the Omega. We know that it brings us exactly the grand start to this year that we need. And so it is. So at this point, well, any questions or discussions or insights about the vibration of this month of January? I mean, it's kind of rocking my socks off. And don't forget, you have to unmute yourself if you're going to say something.
I was going to say I did get an astrology reading for 2025. And one of the themes he kept bringing up over and over again is that this is the year I will be shining the light in the dark places. And that's what I thought of when what you just
Yes.
said. It's about uncovering the last of what's not working.
Right. And we can
Mhm.
think of all of us with flashlights this year, because we're all awakened or we wouldn't be in classes and discussions like this. And we're all taking those flashlights and saying, wait, what's over in this corner? I haven't looked over in this corner. Oh my goodness, I've got to shine some light on this. And the literal interpretation in my life has been cleaning out my office better than it's been cleaned out in years, cleaning out my closet better than it's been cleaned out in years, and getting into those dark corners. And for each of us, it's really a call to action to even to go into our own hearts and find the dark corners that are in there that need to be illuminated, that need to be brought out into the light. I personally have reached out to a few people that I've kind of been not talking to for years for not important reasons, but just not reaching out to them. And those conversations have felt very, very powerful. And it felt like both of us were holding on to dark feelings about the relationship. And once we started talking again, all of that was gone and the light was there. So that is our call to action this January. And I would add to it also, Christy, do you feel like you could share any about the greater astrology of 2025, even just a little tiny piece of it?
Well, the big thing is it's going to be a year like nothing ever recorded in astrology. So it's I think what you were saying about how um, between that and the numerology, you have there's this feeling of change like we haven't seen before. And I think that that's reflective in both of them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And also, I mean, looking at California, it's so interesting because whenever we talk about the apocalypse in movies and everything, it's always fire, right? And even when I was talking to Alison Dubois, you all know her. She's the medium, and she was the television star. She wasn't on that show, but she was the one they made it about, the medium. And she had me on her show a few months ago, and she said, "What are you seeing for 2025?" But first she said, "What I'm seeing is fire everywhere." And Allison lives here in Arizona, but I think she was seeing California, and perhaps there will be also fires in other parts just because of our global heat. And, Arizona is in a terrible drought and heat wave. So I think fire is terrible, and I know it well from living in Boulder and being evacuated due to many fires there that came right up to our backyard. But we also know on the other side of it, it burns up what needs to be released so that new growth and new life can begin. And that sounds harsh, and I'm sorry if I don't mean that in a personal way to anybody who's lost anything. But in the cycle of nature, that's how fire works. So I think it's this amazing image for us to be having on our television screens and in our eyes as we're going into this year of 2025. What are your thoughts on that, people?
Well, it's traumatizing. I lived in LA during the Rodney King riots in 1992. My part of LA was on fire. We had buildings burning all around us. So this whole, and obviously it's on the other half of the city now, and it's clearly much more devastating. But it brings back all the PTSD from 1992. It brings back all the PTSD from living 10 blocks north of the towers on 9/11,
Yeah.
and dealing with thousands of people evacuating and being in the rush of that and seeing people die.
Mhm.
These are moments that are, I mean, amazing is one word, but severely traumatizing. And my heart is, I live in New York and my heart is fully in Los Angeles right now, and has been since these fires started. It's the loss is unimaginable, and people who aren't affected by it are affected by it because everyone's being traumatized that lives there
Right.
right now. Whether you've lost something or not, you will be traumatized for a long time to come. So you're going to have more people coming to you in the aftermath of this because, and hopefully we're all going to be out there in our own ways, being a source of light because there are a lot more people that are going to need help this
Well,
year.
we're going to do a meditation near the end of tonight for those people and for California, definitely. But I also want to say, Lydia, don't forget that
Yeah.
yes, we have our human lens where we see all of the trauma of this and definitely feel it. And then we also have the soul's lens of going, what does this mean for me for healing? Is it possible this could bring up some healing or prepare me for a new kind of growth in my own soul, in my own heart, and start,
100%.
also looking at it that way through our soul's lens as often as we can.
1000%, but you have to
Yeah,
experience the trauma, to get to that place,
yeah.
I think that, we're here, right? I mean, what we study and we know that we're souls and we know that everyone here is an angel and we're here to do that work, but we're also in the physical plane, right? So we feel. Also, we have a full moon in Cancer. My moon is in Cancer. So I'm
Hmm.
really feeling it right now.
Hmm.
And as far as the astrology and what Christy was saying, one of the biggest shifts in astrology starting this year is Pluto left Capricorn and went into Aquarius. So we've had a very patriarchal society and we've been living under that patriarchal rule. And now we're in Aquarius, which is like anything goes. And Pluto is the planet of destruction, but it's destruction in order for things, like you said, Sue, to be replanted.
Reborn. Yeah. Yeah.
Reborn. Yeah, so we're in this and it's a nine universal year. So it's like
Yeah.
combustible,
It is
but for a brighter
combustible. That's
future.
a really good word for it, combustible.
For a
Well,
brighter
we have
future.
these planets too, are the elements are changing. The majority of them
Mm.
have been in
Right.
earth and water, and now they're moving into fire and air, and
Wow,
that is
we're feeling
combustible.
that, right, Christy? Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yes.
So just so much, but that's why this is lovely. And just Sue, I launched my numerology website right before the new year. I'm
Mhm.
writing out my workshops and bringing them to people. I got to get out there. So my vibe this month is like I got to get out there. I got to get out there because I need to be a source of light for people. There's no more sitting back. There's no more sitting in my chair. I got to get up and go. So that's very much the energy I'm feeling this month.
Yeah. And also for all of us, I want us to look at the fires and the cleansing and the nine energy as a time to also heal and release trauma that is holding us back, that might be in our bodies or in our memories or in our minds, and to try not to let the trauma of what we may witness or may see keep us from shining our light as bright as possible, because we are needed, like Christy said, to be shining our light in the dark corners. And when we are in our trauma, which we have to feel, I agree with that 100%, but when we are in it, buried in our trauma, we can't be of service to the light and we can't be of service to others. I think one of the big calls of the nine universal year is that we are graduating from a level of being humans stuck in our pain, humans stuck in our small views, humans stuck in our traumas. Even my conversation with Amber, we're moving away from humans believing that death is the end of everything. All of those paradigms are being shattered, I believe, this year and next year. And of course, the stupid paradigm that we are the only intelligent life in the universe. I can't even say that with a straight face. So definitely we're going to have disclosure of different beings who are probably way more advanced than humans. But all of this comes to peel away our veil of ignorance. And so, without being harsh about it, we have to feel the pain, we have to feel the shock, of whatever happens, but we have to call on the angels or whoever you call on personally to lift you up when you're ready to go into the light of your heart and your higher self. And as we do the meditation tonight on California, just remembering that if you only spend 5 minutes a day lifting up and sending love to the people who need it, sending healing to the people of California, sending fire, love to quiet the fire of California, we are doing a huge energy shift, because it doesn't take a long time to bring a different kind of energy to a situation. And I do think one of the problems is that people, at least on social media, are so locked down in the horror of the fire that the world needs people, hopefully us, to also be saying, yes, let me go into my sacred place and send healing and love and calm and confidence to that area. That's our job, to walk in the two different worlds, the world of trauma and pain and the world of shining our light on it to help others. Or we're just lost in our own darkness.
One of the main bullet points that you brought up last month, Sue, in one of our calls, which I had a Zoom call right before this with a yoga studio, and I brought it up because it was such a great bullet point. But you said the veil is thinner. The
Yeah.
veil is so much thinner in 2025. So it's so easy to go to dark and really be pulled down there.
Hmm.
And so we have to, even more so in 2025, really remain in the light. We have to, because we have to do that because it's like you said, the veil is thin between the two energies, and it's
Hmm.
just easier to get sucked in,
Well,
with
what that thinning of the veil means to me is that seeing and feeling the spirit world more clearly, and especially the angels and the departed loved ones, and having them more readily available to us, especially if we're grieving for someone, being able to see and feel and hear and sense them more powerfully. Like one thing I've even noticed in my sessions with clients, most clients now pick my 90-minute session or my 2-hour session where I'm taking them into the divine to have their own moments with their counsel, with their guides, with their departed loved ones, and I'm guiding them through it. But now every single client is having these profound, and it's not me, it's really that the veil is so much thinner that people, like everyday people like us, are with a few deep breaths and a little bit of relaxation are able to go there without so much resistance from the human mind. And I
Yeah.
think that's a great gift, a great blessing for all of us.
And maybe the thinning of the veil wasn't, maybe there were two separate bullet points, but you did talk about light and dark and just kind of navigating that a little bit more carefully in 2025.
Well,
Um,
that's because there is such frenetic energy now that the darkness has a loud voice and the light has a loud voice. So it's all very, very, very intense. So you can have the greatest conversation with someone ever, an incredible time with them. And then something else in the next hour can happen that sends you into the lower realms of dark fear and sadness and grief. And I think we're all feeling those extremes. You know, I go back to the alpha and the omega. We're feeling the alpha and the omega minute by minute in our daily lives, you know, hour by hour, day by day. And I think that's kind of the new reality of this year is there's no cruising. There's no just, yeah, let's just kick back and, you know, do nothing and feel nothing and kind of be numb. I think that that option is really not on the table this year. And that's a good thing because it serves our growth. It serves our
Mhm.
highest good.
there's,
So I've
Go ahead.
listened to Alex Ferrari on Next Level Soul. Maybe
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
who he
He's
is.
great. Yeah.
So he used to be involved in the movie industry in Los Angeles. And it
Hmm.
just, as soon as I heard about the wildfires, it's just, I thought of him instantly because he's talked on his podcast for the last year about how Hollywood is imploding from the inside out. And that Hollywood is more or less just falling apart because they don't, people are moving away from movies, they're moving away from violence. And I just wondered if these wildfires weren't somehow symbolic or spiritual or something, if there isn't a relationship between what Alex has been talking about.
I think that Hollywood means a bigger idea, not just the movies that we make, because there's just as many wonderful, enlightening movies as there are dark and violent ones. I think Hollywood is just a pinnacle of representation of human dreams and thoughts and ideas being manifested into stories on a screen. And so the fires happening in California, I think, have to do with the intensity of the California ability, talent, and gift to bring human stories to the world, whether it's music or acting or theater or any of these things that are so California, so Hollywood. And yet it's not a judgment. It's, hey, let's burn away the stories and the visions we have of ourselves that are so dark and so limited, so that the new vision is that, like Christy said, that we're each standing here in the light, shining the light on our pain rather than living in the darkness of it. Um, just to, you know, remember, we don't want to ever make a judgment call on California taking the first hit of 2025 with the fires as if it were some sort of judgment. Instead, I want to see it as California is the highest frequency state in the nation on the cutting edge of new ideas. So they're taking the hit of this huge transition that all of humanity is going through now.
When you hear them, the people interviewed, they say over and over again, well, in the end, all we have is each other, and we
Yeah.
have to love each other.
Yeah.
So to me, they're really broadcasting the message
That
that,
message. Yeah.
whatever I lost isn't all that terribly important because my neighbors and
Yeah.
I are helping each other and we're still all here
You
and we're
know,
just going to get through this together.
these natural disasters are so phenomenally transformative for humans. And, you all know that a hurricane destroyed my house when I was 17, and it kind of ruined my family childhood. It was the only place we were all happy is when we were in that particular house with our extended family. And it was leveled to the ground with Hurricane Camille in 1969. And that's when I remember standing on that parcel of land where all of my happy childhood memories had taken place, and there was nothing there. And I remember looking up at the trees, and at the very top of these 50-foot pine trees were dish towels and pot holders from our kitchen. And I remember thinking, wow, what humans make is always temporary, but what humans are is the most important part. I was like 16 or 17 when that happened. And then I've watched it happen around the world with hurricanes, with fires, with tornadoes. And it is, I think, it's an energetic purification, as painful as it is. It's forcing us to rethink, regroup, rebuild. And I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I'm just saying that, yeah, our world is going to go through some of that this year. And we have to also be aware that it might be serving us in some way that we can't quite understand with our human minds.
So I was thinking that as well, just like we were talking about before, about it takes something big to cause a spiritual awakening. And what themes keep coming up as I'm like doing interviews and stuff is this concept of like a universal consciousness and connection versus separation. And what Mary said actually made me think, like it's bringing people, it's reminding them that we are connected as opposed to this political climate of fear separating us all. We're
Right.
not separate, you
Right.
know? And that's why like I haven't gone on Facebook and said, if you voted for whoever you voted for, unfriend me. Like I can't do that. That's not
Yeah.
what I want to put out
Mhm.
there,
Well, that's why this is such a transformative year, I believe, is because all the old ways that humans used to behave and treat each other are now crumbling. We don't know how to treat each other right now, but we do know that people in California need help. And gee, look, there's Mexican firefighters there now helping them. And all these kinds of things will make all humans rethink. And the bigger the physical destruction, the more we all have to go through reinventions of who we are and how we treat each other. And if your neighborhood goes up in flames, you're not concerned about political party. You're trying to help each other save your homes and take care of your animals and all of that. Somehow the universe is trying to get us back to that state of equilibrium, heart to heart, and maybe even more advanced than humans have ever been, because there's humans even back in the simplest of times have been pretty awful to each other in survival ways. But maybe now finally we're going to get to step into the new paradigm of um, a different compassion, a different level of compassion, the Christ consciousness that was supposed to come to earth with the enlightened being of Jesus, teaching that we are all here to love each other, that was the only important commandment that Jesus wanted us to listen to. And look how we've messed that up. Maybe we're going to finally get back to that. And it is a sad truth that when things are good and easy on earth and in our personal lives, we don't want to pay attention and do better and be better. We simply sort of go on cruise, and our world has definitely been on cruise. And hopefully now some of this change happening is really the wake-up call that our hearts need to remember that we're here to help and love each other. Yeah.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. It is how it's that we forget how to treat each other. And so, having lived through a couple of massive disasters, been in the middle of them, people remember that we're one
Right.
when it happens, and hopefully that energy lasts forever, but
Yeah.
usually it lasts a couple of years.
Right.
So how big does a disaster have to become, for it to last a really long time? This is a huge one. And
Or
yeah,
what if there's beings from other galaxies who suddenly blow our minds by sharing the real history of how they've taken care of our planet and saved us from destroying ourselves
right.
and give humans a real wake-up call about war and all of that violence that's been going on Earth. I mean, that would at least give humanity pause for a few years, I would think.
Absolutely. And just in terms of what you're mentioning about the heart and opening the heart, I can drop it in chat, but Kyle Thomas is an amazing astrologer and he lives in Los Angeles. He's in the middle of the fires right now. He did a whole post today about the karmic astrology of Los Angeles. And Los Angeles, their rising sign is Libra. And in 2025, Libra is all about working with the heart chakra. It's
Mm.
all about working with the heart chakra. And Los Angeles is front and center with that this month. And we all are.
That's a beautiful metaphor to think if Los Angeles is front and center for the heart chakra work for humanity, then they are burning up the negativity that's blocked the heart. And we can think of it as burning up greed and competition and what's the word for excessive things, the accumulation of excessive things rather than heartfelt relationships and actions. And the worst of LA represents that. That's the darkness of the heart. And so by burning that up in the fire as a metaphor, hopefully it is the opening of the new and the transcendent. I mean, that's what our power as humans is, to see it that way and to keep promoting that vision for the world as often as we can. Like, oh, this is getting us to a more loving, more compassionate, kinder, more enlightened place in the future. The more we each can stay aligned with that idea and that vision, the more we're helping make it happen. So, Liz, did you have a question, honey?
Um, you know what? I just wanted to make a statement.
Hmm.
This has been, I live in Arizona now, but being a native Californian, Northern, it breaks my heart. But that being said, you talked about Christ consciousness, and really the message is kindness and caring and forgiveness and not caring about people, right?
Right, right.
So I've been thinking about what can I do or what can we do
Hmm.
to make a difference. There's so much grief
Yeah,
and it breaks my heart.
yeah.
So I think we all, no matter what our beliefs are, we need to, we all have an opportunity all.
Liz, I think I lost you. Um, Liz, can you hear me?
Horrible tragedy,
Oh, I think you're freezing up, Liz.
sorry, to those of us that are enlightened have
Hmm.
an opportunity now to
Hmm.
make a difference
Hmm.
through prayers, good
Right.
thoughts, action.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's our call
Action.
to
Yeah,
action. Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
called to action. However, and I've been thinking about that, like the reality, not just donating dollars, but what
Hmm.
can I do
Hmm.
in a physical, like
Yeah.
world, like realistic,
Yeah.
action.
But I also want to remind you, Liz, and remind all of you, and we're going to go do it very soon, that 5 minutes of concentrated,
Yeah.
focused prayer and loving energy and soothing energy is so powerful. Never forget that. Never underestimate that. I mean, there are so many stories and books, even research on the power of affirmative prayer to help people who are, in fact, you probably know this, but there was a man, I think his name was Larry Dossey, who wrote a book about the research that they would do double-blind scientific studies on praying for certain patients in the
Yeah.
hospital. And those who were anonymously prayed for, who didn't even know they were being prayed for, and affirmative prayer means seeing them healing, seeing them healthy, seeing them getting up and walking out of the hospital smiling. Those who were prayed for that way improved and healed and got better. And many of you are Reiki practitioners. You know the power of directing that energy. So I think I just want to caution us that sometimes we get in our heads and go, well, I've got to go start a foundation or I've got to go bring clothing, and all those are really good things. But we can also just
Right.
simply go into our heart prayer and make a difference. You
I
know?
have a I have a story to tell you, which
Hmm.
is totally aligns with what you're saying. So, as you know, but I'll tell everyone. So, my son, 4.5 years ago, was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. He was at Stanford. He went home 6 days later. There was one day when a bunch of family members, because it was during COVID, and we were taking turns, but we prayed directly for healing and love and caring for, everyone outside the hospital, and it was outside the window. At that time, it was my stepdaughter's turn to be in with Michael.
Hmm.
They came in and they asked her. Her name was Jackie. They saw us praying and they said, "There is something going on, and it's impacting Michael." They could see by all of his readings, and they said, "Can you ask them to pray for this woman that was young and had small children?" I don't know what happened to her, but she was in the room next to Michael in ICU and she was dying.
Yeah.
And we prayed. We directed our prayers for her for healing and comfort. And do you know, literally, they looked at, she was connected to machines, like
Hmm.
everything improved.
Yeah.
And it was that prayer. And you were so right. I know the power of prayer.
Well, that is our golden, as spirits, as angelic beings that we are, that is really our golden power right there. And it's something that we should never forget. And in the moment of being upset about something, we have to make it our go-to response that we call in the angels, send the angels to that. I've been doing this today for my mom because my mom is dying, but she's at that really painful place where she kind of won't let go, and she's really suffering. And I've just been really, really seeing her spirit rising up and sending the not healing energy, but the energy of God and release and surrender and love.
Right.
Because we don't want to say, this is the outcome I'm praying for. We want to say, I am sending love and light and all the angels to help and uplift this situation and let them take it where it's supposed to go. So, any
Yeah, that's
more? Go
beautiful.
ahead.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. These are such good insights, everybody, and I love them. And before we do our prayer, I just wanted to cover really quickly, in case this is on your mind, because I had kind of promised to talk about it, is how does your personal year interact with the universal year? Give me a nod if this is something you do want me to talk about. Yes, okay. All right, so for example, you know the power of the universal year nine. We've all been talking about it. It has the overarching effect on us this year, with our personal year showing the more specific way that these things will play out. So, for example, in my life, I'm in a 6 personal year and the overarching 9. Now, those two numbers, 9 and 6, I've taught for many years. They're very similar numbers. They're like yin and yang. And they do have to do with family and heart and healing and letting go. And everyone I've loved who's died has died when I was in a 6 personal year caring for them. And then we flip it and say, and the overarching energy of the 9 is ultimate surrender, that it's not just my little personal trauma, it's the bigger picture of being influenced by the greater learnings of humanity and of the earth. So I can specifically interpret then, what does that mean for me? What does that mean in my life? Well, yeah, my mom will die this year. And how will that affect the family? And how does the bigger arch of the 9 affect all of that? So each of you take your personal year that you already know, or if you don't know, you can go to your soul path calculator or my soul path calculator on my website and input your date of birth and get your personal year. So, for example, interesting, if your personal year is a 1, then you are in the alpha and the omega we just talked about, because your 1 beginning year in your new cycle is being influenced by the 9 of the universal year, the alpha and the omega, containing the beginning and the end of everything in this year for you. And so you'll personally figure out what that means. Now, if you are in an 11 or a 2 personal year, you have the overarching 9 universal year, which gives you again that 11 emphasis. It's going to be a very powerful sacred 11 year for you if that's where you are in your personal year, driven and overseen and influenced by the harder, higher lessons of surrender, humanitarianism, and the ultimate lessons of the 9. So you see how that goes. So does anybody have questions about that for their own personal year or life?
I think I'm in a 5
Mhm.
personal year, but I am an 11 too.
So if you just look at your 5 personal year and the 9 overarching year, you're a numerologist, Lydia. Tell me what you get from that.
I mean, I just feel for me, I do feel that the road is open for me this year.
Mhm.
But I have to be organized or else it's an accident waiting to happen. And the accidents can be even bigger and more catastrophic in a 9 year.
Mhm.
But I also feel that in this 9 year for me and in my 5 personal year, I feel that I will be able to let go of some things that have been that will actually serve me well.
We can also see it as the 9 influencing you to let go of the trauma that's in your body. That fives learn through the body. They learn through physical trauma that's in the body, physical illness, that sort of thing. And you can look at the 9 and the 5 of your two put together, meaning that you will have the power and the healing to let go of some of the old traumas from this lifetime.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else about this?
I'm a 7 personal year.
So the 7 is so reflective and spiritual and writing and studying and meditating and asking why and studying, the deeper meaning of life. That's a kind of perfect vibration for the 9 universal year that's going to be peeling away all the external layers of life, because you'll be in the mood to reflect on it, to study it, to learn from it, to bring your spiritual wisdom to it, and also to help you let go of the darker side. I don't think it's a dark side, but the more difficult, challenging side of the 7 is kind of the cynicism and the criticism that can go with the 7 when the 7 is off path. So use the universal 9 to purge you of any remaining cynicism that the 7 can bring.
Can I say something before you go?
Yes, yes,
My
yes.
mother just passed away January the 2nd.
Oh,
And when she was in a day before she transitioned, I went into meditation and I said to God, I cannot ask you for you to take her, but please, like, she was in pain.
right.
Don't let her be in pain.
Yeah.
And I heard this message. I heard, why are you asking me for her not to be in pain? She's not there anymore.
Oh,
And
very good, Susie.
I saw where she was, and she was in this beautiful place, and she was younger. I've never seen her younger. I don't recall her. She's actually my grandmother, but she raised me since I was 3. And that was just a beautiful message. And
Oh,
I just wanted to say that to you because I know your mom is in
thank
right
you
now.
so much for sharing that. Yes, that's so true and so beautiful that the soul of those who are departing often is in and out of the body and mostly out of it during those difficult times. And I saw that in Paul, and in Chrissy and all of my other loved ones. But it's a good reminder to all of us. Because I'm not there with my mom, and I just hear about it through my brothers and through these phone conversations that are so hard to navigate with her. Um, but when you're in the physical presence of someone who's dying, it's very clear that they are so in and out of the body. And even with my mom on the phone, I've had these amazing moments with her where she has spoken to me from her soul, not from her human personality or her human ego. And those have been profoundly healing to me to hear that
Good.
from her. So, yes, we have to all remember that we are out of our bodies so much easier than we think, and so much sooner than anyone could ever imagine during the dying process.
I have a, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I have a question. So when I go to the calculator, and sorry, I know I'm so far behind everyone else, it's 21/3 or dash.
Mhm.
So what is that? Where am I right
So
now?
is that your personal year or
Yeah.
yes, okay. So that just means you are the 3 personal year,
Okay.
which is how long ago did your son cross, were you telling us?
In 2020,
So that was about four
June
years
of
ago,
2020.
5 years ago. Yeah,
Well, yeah,
Four.
going on 5.
yeah.
Well, excuse me, what am I? Yes,
So
in June.
now you're 3 years into your new cycle of learning, your new cycle of ascension with your son at your side in spirit, and all the beautiful things he's been teaching you and that you're learning and that you're helping other people with. And when you look at the 3, it's about creative thinking, creative ideas, being back out in the community, teaching these things, sharing these things. And the 9 overarching is very friendly with the 3 because in your case, the 3 of your life now is sharing your experiences with your son, with life after death, with your spiritual wisdom. And the overarching 9 universal year is a call to action to all of us to be that way. So I can't remember, Liz, have you written your book yet or not? Because this would
Not,
certainly
but it's been in my mind, and this year I'm making a promise to myself that I will do that. And
perfect.
it's
That's
basically to reach out and help others. It's just
yes.
taking me longer than I thought, Sue.
It's okay, sweetie. It happens when it happens.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you, sweetheart.
So
Uh,
my question is, I'm on a 9 life path and I'm in a 9 year. Does that
oh
magnify it?
yes, Mary. Was it you who wrote to me? I can't remember
No.
who. It was
Oh,
somebody else. So you're on a 9 life path, you're in a 9 personal year, and it's a 9 universal year, right, Mary? Mary,
oh no,
this
I'm a
is
personal year of 4.
Oh, personal year of 4. Well, thank God for that. At least you've got that 4 energy keeping you very grounded and very strong and all that good 4 energy. But the other nines are saying this is your ascendant year of really letting go of parts of yourself that have not served you for a long time that you've wanted to let go of, and they are slipping and sliding away, and you are really in this 4 year holding on to what's important to you, what brings you strength, and what brings your loved ones strength. That 4 is your anchor this year.
Okay. I also have a daughter that's in her a 9 life path. And so then our agreement between the two of us is a 9. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Ultimate lessons, ultimate gifts, ultimate humanitarian compassion and
Ultimate head
wisdom.
buddy.
Yeah, definitely that.
think,
Yep.
for me, so 9, and I talked about this before, 9 is my deepest learning. The relationships and soul agreements I've had with nines have broken me wide open. So I think for me, the 9 is all about sensitivity and understanding ultimately.
Well,
Like,
this 9 year will call all of your lessons up to the forefront, so that a year from now, you will be so different in your life and your expression and your work and how you present yourself to the world. And by different, I mean ascended up the next notch, the next level of success and of power and brilliance and wisdom and all that stuff that you are, Lydia.
well, thank you. Sue, can I tell a quick 15-second funny story to kind of lighten? We talk about death and rebirth.
But
I
you
just
guys, we have 5 minutes left, and I want to do a
15 seconds.
meditation.
15 seconds, I
Okay,
promise.
go ahead. All right.
Back in 2004, when I didn't know anything about anything spiritual, my coworker was fired, and I brought her flowers and I brought her calla lilies. And she said, when she opened the door, "You brought me the flower of death." I said, "Or I brought you the flower of rebirth."
Ah, very good. I didn't know calla lilies were the flower of death.
Anyway, that's it.
That's beautiful. All right. So I think now, in the time we have left, I want us to do this so that you can do this on your own. You already know how to do it on your own, but let's all now just do this together as our exercise before we sign off for the night of how we are going to react to things that are happening in our world that might be shocking. So imagine this as a oh, that's where did my camera go? Imagine this as a exercise for if anything disturbing happens this year, next year, that's kind of shocking, either in your personal life or in the world at large, that you are going to have this be your go-to response rather than, oh no, this is terrible. Instead, we close our eyes now. We take 3 deep breaths. Inhale with me. And again. And again. And in this moment, with our eyes closed, we call in the golden light of the God source. We see this golden light pouring down through the crown chakra like a cone of golden light that we are standing under. And it's washing us off, purifying our hearts, our minds, our bodies of anything negative or fearful, so that in this moment we reclaim, remember, and renew our awareness that we are each golden beings of divine love. That is our true essence. And in this moment, with our eyes closed, the golden light of God's love is all that we see, all that we feel, and all that we know is true. And with this awareness, we rise up happily and easily out of the physical body, out of the human lifetime, the human story, knowing that this is a fluid transition we've done many times, not only in other lifetimes, but in this lifetime. We have lifted out of the body for inspiration, for healing, for connection with God and the higher beings. So we comfortably rise up, flying through time and space towards the greater Alpha and Omega of the God Source. And arriving now in the landing place of the divine realms, the place we live, the place we are comfortable in, the place we remember who we are. And right now, right in front of you, is your departed loved one, looking so happy, healthy, loving. And now they're holding you, healing you, and then standing beside you to be your partner as a healer of light. And now your primary spirit guide is here as well, congratulating you for still being on earth during these very difficult times and being courageous enough to know that you are here on earth because you intended to hold the light to the darkness. So you are being held now in so much love by your departeds, by your ancestors, by the angels, by your spirit guide, all of them celebrating that you are such a powerful warrior of light still on the earth, one of the souls that agreed to help shift humanity's consciousness into a pivotal higher awareness. And now with these beings at your side, you turn and see the earth world. You can see the globe of the earth in a distance, all of its beauty, its light, and its dark. And even from this distance, you see the trouble spots, you see the people in pain, you see the fires, and with your angels at your side, helping you, you fly towards those areas that need your love, and you hover above a city or perhaps a state, and you spread out your arms and legs and your awareness, your golden love, your golden light, and wrap that love and light around that entire area, whether it's a city or a state or a country. You are giving it a hug of golden love, unconditional God's source presence, easing, healing, bringing comfort to those afraid, quieting the minds of those who are angry, opening the hearts of those who are shut down. You are that golden angel dipping down into the trouble spots and illuminating them with love. And then going to the next one and using the water of the source of God, love, to cool and comfort every place that is burning, bringing the coolness of sacred healing waters to any places that need soothing, cooling, calming. And now you move to a different part of the world where you see people struggling, perhaps sick or hungry or in war. And you bring love to them now, an array of light, a ray of happiness that hits them out of nowhere. And they feel soothed. All of a sudden, they feel better for no apparent reason. But they suddenly know that they're okay, that their soul is okay, and they are lifted up above the harsh details of human life. And now we go to all the children of the world, the children being the most advanced souls who come to earth. We go to all of these children now, and we say to them, remember that you are love, that you are light, that you are not alone. And we wrap them in so much love. And we see them laughing and smiling, no matter if they're sick, no matter if they're suffering. We are lifting them into a place of knowing all is well, of feeling that all is well. Now we pull back from the earth and we put our hands out to the world. We put our hands out towards the world and soothe the world with our love. The image that you're standing there with the whole world in your hands, and you are loving on that world in all of its entirety, in all of its light and dark. You are loving the world. And as you love the world, you feel this love circling around and coming back to you. And now you remember that this is the real circle of life, that never-ending force of love that we are all part of, that comes from the God source to all of us and around across the universe, and then back to each of us, to the God source, and around to the world, to all of the worlds and all of the galaxies. And in this moment, we feel complete awareness of how good it all is, no matter how it can seem in the moment. We remember now the goodness and the grace of this divine God force universe. And so we move back towards the physical bodies, towards the physical world, knowing that all is well and that we are so powerful as lights against the darkness. And we drop back into our physical bodies, carrying this golden light brighter than anything that we would ever be afraid of, more powerful than any circumstance that may frighten us. And we reclaim our knowledge that divine beings are always more powerful than anything that comes their way. And so it is. Thank you all so much for tonight. And please remember your go-to power as you go back into your life this week and deal with all of your own personal challenges and the world's challenges, and send so much love and light to California. Even as you see a picture of it in flames, send it love, send it light, and do the same for your loved ones who might be suffering or needing help. And to all of us, we are angelic beings of light, and we carry the healing grace that the world needs in this transcendent, amazing Alpha and Omega year of the 9. Thank you all so much. I love you all so much.
Wonderful session tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Love you.
Thank you, Sue.
Love
Thank
you.
you. Good night, everybody.